The ZA Tech Show is made possible by Vodacom. Power to you at vodacom.co.za. And by Blackberry. Love doing business on your Blackberry smartphone at blackberry.co.za. Good evening and welcome to the ZA Tech Show. My name is Simon Dingle. This is episode number 187 of said show for 30 November, recorded on the 29th, 2011. Welcome to it. It's good to be back. I think I missed the last 2 weeks. Bretsky filled in once and Sam Beck-Bessinger held down the fort last week. Thanks to both of them. Brett's here tonight. Brett Haggard from Hypertext Media Communications.
Hello, Si.
How are you doing,
28th of November.
Is today the 28th?
It is indeed.
Whatever, man. I roll in. No, the show's for the 29th. That's
the show's for the 29th. Okay.
Yes,
It was recorded
dumbass.
on the 28th, though.
You know what? Get it right before you start gesturing. If you were talking to a deaf person now, they would have punched you in the face already.
So it means every single podcast I stood in for over the past couple of weeks was actually incorrect.
No,
Do you know what
it's
you
all
talk about hand gestures? You know, one of my engineers.
gestures.
Don't you mean gestures?
So one of my
You've started off
engineers.
violent and ungrammatical.
Hold on. Back up.
Hello, Simon. You can now carry on with the rest.
Okay, let me introduce everyone. So we've said hello to Brett Haggard, who has trouble with dates. Stafford Masie's here. Serial entrepreneur.
I'm not that. I don't know why people keep saying that.
Because
That's a
your Twitter
horrible
profile
word as
says
well.
it.
Does it say that?
Yeah,
Oh,
guys
you
changed
said
that,
it, man.
That's like singer-songwriter actress. It's terrible.
You wrote your name on the label and stuck it on your chest, China.
I knew there was a reason I was invited on the show tonight.
I thought he was an actress.
Okay, Stafford Masie,
Yes,
supremely rad human being,
Thank you. Thank you for
co-founder of
having me, man.
MassiveGap.com.
I actually know what. The reason you're here is I insisted on just having you here today. I said there's no way I was going to be on the show if Brett wasn't on the show.
Did you say that?
I did. I
you
told
tell
that to
Jess?
Jess.
Thank you,
I
Stafford.
said there was no way.
Wow.
You know that they wouldn't have let me on the show otherwise, so thank you so much, Stafford.
With that haircut, I'm surprised they let you on the campus.
Are you a believer? Because
Oh my God! All right.
No, wait. Let me finish what I was saying.
Okay.
When you was talking about gestures.
Gestures.
Which one is it?
no, it's
Gestures.
gestures, definitely.
Okay, gestures. So, one of my engineers, you know what they did with Kinect? And we read it in a newspaper article, and we thought, okay, we're going to test it. So, last week, Wednesday, they had someone from the deaf school or the mute school or something like that come in, and they actually recorded some of the gestures and took the English, and they taught Kinect. So when she's doing sign language, Kinect will in real time render what she's saying in sign language on the
That's
screen.
very cool.
That's
So,
nice.
so we've done that. So we wrote that. We want to release it in the next couple of weeks. We're just cleaning it up because
It's
still
amazing what
messy.
you can do with Connect.
I mean,
Yeah.
Kinect is to me, in the next 3 years, the coolest technology we've ever
I
seen.
think so. Okay, so hold on.
Okay.
We're drinking wine, which means Andy Hadfield is here. Let's introduce him to
I thought you'd forgotten about
Andy Hadfield.
Hello, how are you?
At Andy Hadfield. What are we pitching this week for you?
Keep
Real-time
on the
wine.
Yeah, real-time wine. That's it.
Have you seen this guy's T-shirt?
What is it?
Oh, I'm
say?
wearing the
It says Dev Whore.
Dave Hall. Yeah, this is the Presence T-shirt.
Nice.
I wear agency T-shirts if they give it to me.
Okay.
So I'm collecting them.
Is
Well,
that, so who's Dev
He
Whore?
is that easy. You
He's
just
the
give him a
devil.
sponsored
I'm a
T-shirt,
devil.
he will wear it.
You see,
I'm all over developers.
they used
like
to call them. They
chlamydia.
used to call them web designers in the old day, and now if you know markup language, you're a developer too.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So the agencies put out T-shirts like that. It's kind of cute.
Quaint.
Dev
Kind of
Whore.
great. I know how to make bold font on a website. I'm a developer. I'm joking. I'm joking.
The wine tonight, we're going supermarket style. Robertson Winery 2010 Cab Sav Shiraz. Probably about $40 a bottle.
Wow, that
Good for
cheap, eh?
September.
Good for Coke.
And if you hadn't said anything about the price,
Sorry,
none of us would have
$90
known,
a bottle.
been the
Exactly,
wiser.
you wouldn't have.
It's good stuff. Thanks, Andy Hadfield. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the wine. Thanks for everything, including your
Everything.
T-shirt.
Everything.
Dev
everything.
All right, so we were talking about Kinect from Microsoft and all of the rad things you can do with it. Microsoft actually put out an official ad on YouTube with some examples of what people were doing hacking Kinect. So they've really embraced this whole open kind of environment around their hardware. Well, obviously it helps them to sell more Kinects than they would have to just gamers.
I wouldn't
So
push it that far. I mean, they were forced with the API being published for Kinect now. now it's open. Now you can extend, and the SDK is there. But it took them a while to release that Kinect SDK.
It took them a while, but now they have embraced it. I mean, they put out this official ad for Microsoft. Let's see if I can find it on.
They're going to be doing. They're going to fund a couple of startups and stuff like that, which I think is quite cool. I mean,
look, doing that for a while.
Bottom line is, all right, they didn't want to, work with devs at all around this. They wanted to keep it all to themselves, and some Russians and some other smart dudes went, screw this, and they reverse engineered some stuff, and they hacked some stuff, and they got it working themselves. And Microsoft was like, okay, we are going to have serious egg on our face if we don't embrace this.
But there was also open source Kinect, that started launching. There's an open source project for Kinect.
Yes. But then February this year, when I was in Seattle with Microsoft, they actually announced it kind of same time. And the important thing is it's for non-commercial use at this stage, but you can approach Microsoft to get a commercial license for it. They haven't made it easy for you to do that. But it's specifically for educational institutions, universities, etc., etc.
Medical.
Here's the official Kinect.
The term voice and movement.
What are the future possibilities? I'm going to kill the audio. I don't want to hear it. Looks pretty cool, though.
But
if
I
you're
think
watching the video stream.
anyone that messes with it, the better way to get knowledge around Kinect is actually to go to the open source Kinect project.
Yes, definitely.
And that's where you start, because Microsoft hasn't really done as good a job. You go to Wiki, it's under openconnect.org.
Yeah.
But
we're really seeing the new Microsoft. So now on the video, if you're watching the video stream, they've got a student who's manipulating a rendering of DNA with her hands, and it's happening on the projector. Doctors using it to review X-rays. So Microsoft's really, really starting to push this whole environment. This is really the new Microsoft.
You know what? I think look 3 years out, and we're not going to have webcams in our laptops anymore. We're going to have these 3 tiny little sensors built directly into there.
You're going to have an AR drone with a Kinect mounted on it, flying behind you and following you.
That would move. Add in voice recognition. I want 2.
It's got your back.
It's got your back.
The AR drones got your back.
Microsoft Kinect. We've got your back.
But what I think, if you take a look at user interface and design, I think the iPad did something huge. It moved us tectonically into a space that we predicted would take like 5 years.
Totally.
Just got us there, because now what users want applications to do, now what kids want things to do that they interact with. I mean, Kevin Kelly has that. When the kid walked up to the table, touched the photograph physically, and tried to make it bigger by extending its arms around it. I think it's changing that. And I also think that we saw it in Minority Report, where there was conducting the data. In Iron Man 2, we saw him get immersed in the data.
You do know these are movies, eh?
No, but I mean, take a look at what's the difference between Minority Report and your iPad.
I'm joking.
No, I'm gonna get vicious now.
It's like, you know what happened on Noddy last week?
You can't be inside your iPad.
Some chickens.
They weren't even real chickens. They were like these strange chickens from like.
It happened in a movie. It's
if
gonna happen.
You're gonna correlate chickens back to me.
There was this dude with a sword that had like a laser in it. It was insane.
Okay, hold on.
And another dude looked at a spaceship and it floated. It was awesome.
It's actually a proper conversation. There's a proper topic here.
I think gesture-oriented computing is
and voice.
I think the way surfaces now need to react in a certain way. Data will be displayed on surface. And Microsoft's doing some interesting thing with Microsoft Surface, the new one.
Yes.
They've got the Pixelate technology that they've released around it, which makes you render data onto full-blown screens, and you can manipulate it in a gesture-oriented way too, where you can double tap and things get bigger. You can move it. And I think that's going to be big, and I think we're underestimating how quick this is going to come.
Well, I think the next major leap forward in interfaces is voice, and it's happening with Siri, but it's also happening with Kinect. When does the new Xbox dashboard ship? It's any day now, isn't it?
It's, I think, 12th of December, somewhere around there.
And then we're going to see the Xbox dashboard start mimicking Windows 8 Metro and Windows Phone 7, but also we're going to see Kinect come alive with voice commands. I'll shout at my TV to play things. How awesome is that?
It's been there for a while.
I don't agree with that.
No, look, it's been there for a while, depending on which locale. So now it's actually starting to come to South Africa. So it'll be available in South Africa. But I've been playing with that for a bit through the US, and there's certain little bits of integration. So what you can do is you can go Xbox Play Music.
No.
Xbox Next Track.
The next dashboard takes the whole voice thing to the next level.
Yeah, sure. So now you can actually start navigating the dashboard using your voice, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's ridiculously accurate from what I've heard. It's just really, really good.
Well, it's also using visuals for lip recognition, apparently. Yes. Yeah.
But I still think that,
and voice.
I do think the next big Google on the internet will be sound. I mean, folks like SoundCloud, we need to watch. You know, audio and the notion of what Google did with PageRank.
Yeah.
That gave us this intelligent search engine that made the web make sense. I think Siri is that instantiation of it's not about what Siri is today. It's about what Siri is learning linguistically, correlating what the end result is. And I think for Siri, it's not going to be about Siri. I think it's going to be the third-party interface where when someone says, "I'm at your door, I can't get in."
Yeah.
You go, "Siri, open door," and it knows open that door, open car door, open house door. So we've got peripherals attached to the Siri AI engine, and I think that's going to be powerful, where you're linking physical objects to open things up, make things happen with your voice.
What I want to see is an API stack for Siri, because I think that starts getting very, very powerful.
So
where you
that's
third-party integrations. So is it there already?
There's hacks
Okay,
already
right.
for it. Yeah, you can.
No, there's hacks, but what I'm saying is like officially sanctioned
It's
API
coming.
stack available where I can write an application that can make use
Google's
of
going to
Siri.
release it,
Apple's-
not Apple.
Because
Apple's
that's a
already-
big that's a big
You have to buy
differentiator.
the Apple
yeah.
door with the Apple lock.
So
With the
Yes, but
with
it'll
the Apple
look good
thing.
and it'll always work and it'll be shiny and it'll feel good.
So
And we'll all
Apple's
want
already,
one.
I mean,
Yes,
Apple's already got
indeed.
this on the roadmap where you'll be able to, third-party apps will be able to address the Siri API. And Dragon's got Dragon Go, Nuance.
Who bought Dragon?
No,
Did
it's
anyone buy
Nuance.
Dragon?
Nuance is the company that
But,
has always done
but
Dragon.
Dragon,
Yeah.
Dragon came from the wrong origination.
Sure, so it
They're
used to
not
be
on the OS
dictation,
stack.
but Dragon Go now can launch applications, for example.
Yeah, but they're
It's
not
not
built
about
into
that.
they're not
But
built
that's-
into the operating system.
You're
It's the
talking about-
beginning of something, though.
But you're talking about voice event engines. But
Right.
that's not what it's at. That's a consequence.
Yeah, the
Siri
AI
is-
comes later.
Siri is
It's
about
it's about the knowledge engine, and as you said, the Internet of Things and being able to manipulate.
Well, that's the consequence. I
sure.
think what we're seeing, when I talk about the page rank of voice, is when it understands every dialect and it understands what you intend.
even Australians, which
Because
Siri
you know what?
does already.
I've got this slide. Exactly. I've got the slide that actually shows what happens step by step. And I did it. You were
Yeah,
Grok.
this
I
is
did.
fantastic.
I did a
This
step
is
by
really,
step
really clever.
2-3 slider where I showed when you tell Siri, like, send this SMS to Simon.
yeah,
Do we actually understand what's going on?
yeah, it's crazy.
So what I did was
The
I
data
unpacked.
center and the,
Well, what happens on the phone?
Yeah,
the
yeah.
phone has this engine that says, "Wait, does he want to do something with data locally or in the cloud?"
yes, yeah,
It does that correlation first. Like, is he asking to play a song off the disc,
yeah.
do something natively, or is he asking something
And
in the
then
cloud?
it retains that context for the next
Next
question, which is amazing. So if you go, what is the weather like in San Francisco? Then you say, what about Cape Town? It knows that you're still talking about the weather, even though you just said, what about Cape Town?
So in this slide, I go through what it does to send an SMS in a lot of detail. My geeks actually allowed me to unpack every element of Siri that shows every event call. And
Wow.
I go through it and people look at this and they go, "Oh my God, this is what happens to Siri." But
Yeah,
then
working into Wolfram Alpha, going
Okay.
to Google.
And then, well, you know what's interesting about Siri? Siri is programmed to use Google as the very last resort.
Yes. Well, I mean, Jobs.
Very, very,
Fallback
very
safe.
last. Like,
Jobs hated Google. He said he was gonna. What did he say? He'd go thermonuclear if he had to destroy Google. He absolutely hated the company.
yeah, but I'll tell you something. Google's
didn't know
got
favors
Google's
either,
got
so.
challenges because Siri is immersing and it skipped them, right? If you take a look at Twitter, it skipped them.
Right.
Like they're in this business of what I call today, and everyone else is in this business of right now.
Yes.
Like, and we like now. We don't like today.
Right.
Plane lands in Hudson River. The information is now in Twitter,
Sure.
in Facebook. It's not in Google.
It's out there over Skidovers.
Yeah, so I think they've got a chance. But I think with Siri, let's not underestimate what's going on here. I think it's enormous. It's significant. And if you start
but-
playing with Siri, then you'll start understanding.
The
you
part
know,
for me, the technology is unbelievably impressive at the back end, and when you look at it from an experiential perspective, then you get an appreciation for what they've done, because you can unpack a lot of layers of detail and technical awesomeness at the back end, but it's designed to create an experience. I'm not dictating to the device. I'm not going new mail to da-da-da-da. I'm going, Siri,
Which
please
is the
open up a
Dragon
new
model.
mail and da-da-da-da-da.
Which is the Dragon
All right, okay. Subject line, actually scratch that. I want to go back. I want that kind of interaction with my devices where I'm actually having a conversation with it. That becomes meaningful. That becomes useful in my life. I don't need to integrate my thinking to how the device works. The device will work the way I want it to work. And that's the big difference. This is one of the things that Apple gets right. Technically, a lot of other companies get this right, but they don't get the experience portion right.
Yeah.
That's why Apple dominates. That's why Siri's going to kill, because it's not, anyone can say, what is the weather in San Francisco today? All right. But the fact that I can say, Siri, do I need an umbrella today?
Yeah.
it's the same question. It's just a little bit more human. It's how I would speak to a human, and it fits in
for the
nicely,
last since 2007. There's been a pattern to the industry. So a disruption will happen. The ripples will start, like smartphones. Apple will sit back, watch it happening.
Yeah.
They'll identify the problems. They'll identify what customers are asking for. They'll come up with their own version of whatever that trend is. They'll own that space because they're the first people to package it properly, and then the emulation
experience
starts.
will rock. And that's
So-
Well, guys, but okay, so that's very positive in the light of Apple. But I will say,
No, they don't
look
always
at
get it
Apple's
right.
total history. They do this every single
there's
time, and then
stuff
everyone, and then a Gates comes along and says, "Wait, I'll go for open, and I'll
Yes.
create the ecosystem versus the
And that
vertical
always
integration."
wins.
And that's the model that gets mass adoption. Apple never wins with mass adoption.
Sure. So what I was going to say was,
Oh no! Hey, iPad.
Dude,
iPod,
It's early days,
iPod,
though.
It's early.
iPod.
Still, when compared
People
to the
don't want
total
MP3
computer
players.
audience.
People want iPods.
okay, but Brett, I think from a holistic perspective, from a high level, what Stafford said is correct. 9 out of 10
Oh,
times. that
sure,
is
sure,
what
sure. Okay,
happens.
look,
So,
that's
but
the
as the
reason
ripples-
that macOS and Apple
I'll finish my
computers
sentence one day.
lag PCs for sure.
So,
You know, so-
but then as those ripples spread, you start to see the Microsofts, the Googles dealing with the disruption, coming up with the next generation, and then Apple's kind of takes a back seat in that market. I mean, look at the smartphone market now. Android is dominating. I don't think everybody who gets an Android phone knows exactly what they're doing
but I
because
think-
they
I
just
think-
get it by default.
I think this is that thing around. I was watching Walter Isaacson with Fareed Zakaria in the week on Sunday,
yeah,
and he was actually interviewing him and said, what was the difference between Gates and
Jobs.
and what was the philosophical belief? They were both right and both wrong with one fundamental philosophical belief.
okay,
One was about
Open
general
versus
purpose
closed.
open,
Yeah.
and the other one was best experience closed.
yes,
And Gates said he was right. He thought Apple and Steve was right, but he said only Steve could instantiate his model.
right.
It was very human. It was about the human being executing around that particular philosophy, and that's what made it successful. His can be executed by a Google,
Yeah.
by lots of open source did what Gates did with Windows, etc., etc. So there's instantiations and derivatives of his model. The other one is a
Yeah.
Gates, a jobs dependent model.
But it's so funny thinking of Microsoft in the open light because from a user experience perspective, Microsoft is fairly open. And you do have choices in terms of your hardware and what you're running Windows on, for example. But from a code perspective, Microsoft is even more closed than Apple is, funnily enough.
Oh, I don't know.
Definitely.
No.
the past 2 years, I'd
Definitely.
say
From
that
a
is totally
licensing
not the case.
perspective.
Okay, but wait,
Absolutely. That doesn't matter, though. But then you look at the open source world. And when you go too open, Microsoft's kind of hit it perfectly in the middle. So open source is too open, right? People
They're
don't
also
want that
making
much
money.
choice. It doesn't work for your average user when you've got 800 different distros of Linux.
It becomes
and
tiring to
400
think and
different
decide
Outlook
that
I
amount.
closes.
disagree with
and-
you guys, but
Okay,
yeah.
well, what's the... I mean, Linux has...
I love the way everyone takes open source and makes it this anarchical world.
No, it's not at all.
Where it's crazy and it sparks and it confuses
It's
users.
not crazy, but
It's
there
not
is a lot of
anarchical.
choice.
It's unfiltered.
Listen, open source right now. Look at Red Hat's revenues. Okay, it's exponentially.
Sure, but
high.
that's in the enterprise space. I'm talking about from a consumer
But
perspective.
Android.
Yeah, but that's not Linux.
What is
It's
Android?
based on
It's
Linux,
a
but
Linux
the
kernel, it's
model,
open.
the go-to-market is not open source.
Of course it is.
No, it's not.
Google owns the project called Android, and it's open, and you can fork it. Amazon just did it. They
Sure,
forked it. They had the
but
right
from
to
a
do it.
user perspective,
Yes, but the
your
Android
apps are curated and vetted
Totally.
App Store. That code belongs to those developers. It's not the pure open source community that I spent 9 years on with Linux, where not only the platform,
So
but
maybe
the
this is an
applications,
evolution
the
of open
APIs,
source. I wouldn't hammer the Microsoft drum too hard on this one. I think what was beautiful. Let's get back to the point. What
Right.
was beautiful about the Microsoft model is what Gates did with Windows.
Okay.
He said, "Look, I can either put this on one particular machine and marry it tightly and do a jobs, or I could say, you know what, I'm going to create an ecosystem." And I
Right.
always say this: products never win.
Yes.
Ecosystems win.
And Apple's
Yeah,
been late
totally.
to the ecosystem game.
And when you bought Windows, it wasn't the cost it was the fact that the printer worked, the fax machine worked. Any
Right.
device that you plugged into, the driver was in the box for Windows.
Yeah.
You didn't have to go download it off some secret FTP
Sure.
server. And that was the experience. So Gates got the ecosystem experience.
Yes.
Jobs had the vertical integration. I'm going to make it so beautiful for you where you'll only want this fax machine.
Right.
And only this printer.
Yeah.
And only this device. But
But-
it's going to be the
but
best.
Stafford-
That only that only works when you get into a market at a very specific time where you can ultimately dominate and go widespread. The iPod is an example of that, right? Where there were MP3 players available, but as people were becoming au fait with that concept, the iPod launched, and they own that market hands down. People do not have digital music players; they have iPods.
Yeah, but I don't think that's because of that reason. I think it was
No,
because
I think
the
it's
philosophy. No, I think the philosophy with Jobs was the following: I'm gonna make stuff that's just freaking beautiful, and I'm gonna make it nice. And he had the power inside that company, which is gone now. Because no individual inside of Apple has the power to stop a product from launching,
I will
to
agree
stop
there.
something
I will
from
agree with
happening.
you there,
And that's my
100%.
problem with Apple at the moment. I don't see Tim Cook being the guy going, you know what, this product is 99%, it's 100%, pull it. Jobs could do that. Tim Cook can't do that. No one on Apple is now able to just
Well,
stop
Johnny
something.
kind of
let's-
can.
Yeah.
If you read the Walter Isaacson books, Jobs set him up to have a hell of a lot of power. Anyway, want to continue this discussion and others, or start others. But first, I want to talk about our fantastic sponsors of the ZA Tech Show, and they are, of course, Vodacom. Couldn't do the show without them in so many ways. There's a lot of interaction with Vodacom that happens behind the scenes that you don't even see, but they are fantastic fans of the show, and it's great to have them on board. Of course, they launched their own app store, very topical to tonight's conversation, recently. They've had fantastic reception. Since launching the app store in September 2011, they say, there have been a total of 480,000 visits and over 450,000 downloads to date. Of course, their App Store itself is a cross-platform mobile application which supports Android, Blackberry, Java, and Symbian. And of the store's 140,000 apps, which is pretty impressive, 40 are from local brands and developers. Some of the current local apps include News24, Zoopy, and K53. They've also got the Vodacom Developer Program and a competition that's going on at the moment, the Vodacom App Star Challenge, where there will be cash prizes, conference packages, and an iPad 2 for winning developers. So if you haven't checked out the Vodacom App Store, run along and check it out. And if you're a developer, also look at the platform from that perspective and what can be done via the Vodacom Developer Program. And we are, of course, very, very, very happy to have Vodacom as our partners on the ZA Tech Show.
How can you get to that app store?
It's,
I'm just Googling it and Duncan McLeod comes up first. So Vodacom hasn't done their SEO.
Let's just check. It's Vodacom.
I get that generally. Duncan always comes up. I call it, Duncan. I've got the hashtag Duncan versus Norris.
Duncan
versus Norris.
Chuck Norris. Yeah.
Wow.
He adds stuff to the dictionary. Have you seen Duncan's tweets?
We should have
He's
really.
He's like, I went to the dictionary and I think this should be in the dictionary. He adds words to the dictionary, like 2 a.m. in the morning.
Of course, Vodacom's got their online shop as well. I'm just trying to find the direct link for
Yeah,
the
I was
store.
just interested in looking at the top 10 most popular apps in
Yeah.
the Vodacom App Store and seeing how that compares to
The chat room says I have
apps.
to ask you a question, Andy. Why?
No, they
Ask
said
Andy
I've
a
got they actually said I got to stab Stafford in the throat, Goodfellas.
Because we've got two massive egos over
Goodfellas style.
dominating.
What
the
does that
room.
mean? You got to
what's
drive him home afterwards?
Jeez.
That's fine when I got something to say.
You're
I'll
getting
say
it tonight, Stafford.
Jess, I do not want Brett on any show.
Yeah, next week it's going to be I won't come unless Brett's not here. Anyway,
Stafford is the Dvorak.
I like
of
what's
local
happening in the
podcasting.
market at the moment, but I find it interesting, Stafford, whenever we have this ecosystem discussion. You
Right.
speak to your average, I do the show on 5FM where the audience, generally speaking, is probably less tech savvy than ZA Tech Show listeners. And you speak to those guys, and the general experience is, I think consumers are starting to become more savvy, but most of them walk into their cell phone shop when it's time to upgrade. They go, what phones can I get? And whatever's available at the moment, they'll go the Galaxy S2. You could get an iPhone, but it costs a bit more. You could get a Blackberry, but it costs a bit less.
I think you're wrong. Okay, I'll
And
tell
then
you
they
why.
take whatever the cell phone guy's selling them.
No.
Most people.
No, I
It's changing,
well,
but
you
it hasn't changed
Well,
yet.
let's segment these age groups, right? If you take a look at, I've got a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, 2 little girls. Okay, in that segment, I would say from 7 to 8, all the way to probably 15 to 18.
Yeah.
In that age group, they're all going for Blackberry.
But they're driving the change.
No, but they're going for Blackberry. And you know why
Okay,
they're
but
going
why?
for
Because
Because
Blackberry?
their friends have it.
Because of BBM.
Yeah, their friends have it.
An
Yeah,
app
but-
that sits on it. And they've got... No,
Once they find WhatsApp and once they find iMessage,
But they're
and all
not
that kind
doing
of
that. They hate
No,
WhatsApp.
I
My
think-
kids hate WhatsApp on the BlackBerry. They don't like it. I showed my kid a white iPhone, 4, and I gave it to her, this beautiful
did she say?
device. And she
Ew.
went, no, it doesn't have BBM on it. You see, I think that ecosystems drive devices, not devices themselves.
No, fair
It's
enough.
changing to that market. I'm talking about your average 28-year-old who walks into a store right now.
28-year-old, I'm speaking about the kid.
No, sure. You're
Well,
talking
they're
about
probably
the
also
future.
getting
I'm talking
BlackBerry.
about presently. I think most people don't know about ecosystems. They just want a phone and it must work with their laptop. And they don't give a crap who it's from. They're looking for the best value for money.
Hence Stafford's argument is it sticks because I think the same behavior is shown by 28-year-olds. They go, oh, well, my mates have got PBM, so I'll get PBM. But I think it's going to take a year or two until these apps catch up, and they go, well, with WhatsApp I can do so much more, and everyone's on it. So right.
So let me clarify this ecosystem. It wasn't just applicable to mobile phones and devices, right? I think ecosystems are applicable to. I'll give you an example. Michael Jordan. He's got a beautiful suite of these applications that run across multiple devices.
Yes.
You know, someone asked me the other day, what's Michael's biggest potential threat from a competitive perspective? I said it's another bank that does exactly what he does, releases products that look just like his, but does it open source and releases the API sets that he utilized to call on and to develop those very apps.
Right.
If NetBank did that, Standard Bank did that, then it wouldn't be them. It would be a community that they'd start spawning.
Yes.
And they'd have 100 times the developing that FMB has, and they'd be more agile and iterative. I think that an ecosystem can attack them more than someone else that builds the similar suite.
Definitely. But once again, that's in the future.
They're probably not going to API into a bank.
I was about to say, can you get away with that as a bank?
Depends what you
banks
API
have
into.
Banks have APIs all over the place. Ivory has an API.
Yeah, but
ECB,
the bank's
ACB
APIs
has
are
APIs.
closed. They're closed and they used. It's like the business function.
They use what's it, Yodlee, the third party that
Guys.
Which screen scrapes? I'm sorry.
No, okay, but now
for the most part, some of the banks play ball with it, but it's not exactly
none
an
of the
API.
banks are using Yodlee yet. That's new.
That's
in
like
this
saying
country.
No, all of the
like
banks
Other
are
banks
using
use Yodlee, but people that need information out of the banks use Yodlee.
There are tons of banks using Yodlee.
Yeah, internationally, not in this country.
No, in this country, well, we can't talk
No.
about that yet, can we?
No, you
No,
can
they're
talk
not
about
using
MoneySmart.
the people
No,
getting
we're not talking
people
about
getting
MoneySmart.
information from
I'm
the
saying
banks.
We
are
can
using
talk about
Yodlee.
22/7, can't we?
I don't think so.
Not
Okay,
really.
well, let's
Well,
not.
we can't speak in any detail, but there's
MoneySmart
this
is the
company
same
called
thing.
22/7.
No, it's not the
that's
same
doing
thing
great
at
stuff.
all.
It uses Yodlee.
It's not the same.
It
thing.
aggregates bank accounts.
not the same thing.
Essentially, it's the same.
Trust me. Have you played with both platforms?
Not both. I played with
Okay,
22.
Trust me, it's not the same thing. Anyway,
So
we're getting off track.
no, my point around ecosystems is I think you can go into the breadth, depth, and width of what an ecosystem and what isn't. What's an API and what's it used for? Look, at the end of the day, sometime I'll give you if Home Affairs opened up one API for the death register in this country, we could have every ghost employee disappear, and all they need to do is an ACK and an ACK. Acknowledge that someone is alive, or acknowledge that they're not alive. We don't care about how they died, what circumstances. Just acknowledge whether they exist or not.
That's
And
a
imagine
very cool
how
idea.
much money that would solve. So it's not about how deep your API is.
2 cents per API.
Sometimes it's just an acknowledgement, a 1 or a 0, and an acknowledge that says this record exists or not, and that creates an ecosystem.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. We're not talking about developer SDKs with deep, rich interfaces and
So
objects.
I think that whole API bank idea is really good. Can you name a South African company that is a big South African corporate that is playing in the API space? That are developing sort of this community of people that can acknowledge data via something.
No, but I think it's what I will say though is I can mention so many overseas, but what I will say in South Africa, in the government space, I'm seeing some big tectonic movements happening right now, and I do think in Q1 of next year we're gonna see gov.za launch, and it'll be a repository of a
Open
very
data sets.
large the taxonomy, the meta frameworks, the data sets, and the APIs
Right.
that they can publish. Example.
So where the world's going?
Yeah, so right now I'm working with some government departments around standardizing the public transit feed, where you can detect where buses are, etc., but it doesn't give you a lot of information about it. It just tells you proximity, real time, with a geo let long. And that's an open API in a standard repository that any application can read from. Standardizing that and releasing that in Q1 of next year. That's going to happen.
So
We know that for a fact.
to get back to the banks, though, I think the real threat to FNB would be a Capitec, a bank that just strips away the frills, is completely transparent, and gives you a really simple banking experience. Clean, simple, to the point.
You know what? I agree with you. I think mobile banking and banking in South Africa is too bloody complicated.
There's just too much out
It's
there
too
at the
much.
moment. There are too many mobile wallets and
Yeah.
everybody trying to own those stores of value you're always talking
Yeah.
about. And it's just, and nobody's really come up with anything
But
compelling.
look, it's pretty revolutionary that so many people are looking at NFC right now. That's really, really rad. Right? How many phones with NFC?
No,
No.
NFC
How many
sucks.
phones with NFC are actually going to be available
2
in the
in the
market
entire
for the next
world.
5 years,
Yeah. No,
7 years, 10 years?
a lot.
I don't know.
A lot.
You know what's interesting?
NFC is
though?
going to happen whether
New
we like
phones-
it or not.
New phones, maybe, Simon, but it's going to be on the high end.
Why
devices
won't
to
it
start
happen
with.
though? If the whole industry is building in NFC except for Apple.
Well, I'm first going to let Andy finish what he was going to say.
Yes.
Okay, so just a last comment on the banks. Capitec, yes, but if you want a dose of reality, the dose of reality is someone like ABSA. All ABSA has to do is copy what F&B are doing, and then their customers don't have a reason to leave.
That's true. That's very true.
So attrition is the biggest problem with advancement.
But at
in
the
South
moment,
African
these
companies.
other banks are looking at FNB. They see FNB developing an app. They see FNB selling iPads for really cheaply. They see FNB giving their customers slow launch access, and they think that's why people are switching to FNB. It's not. FNB spent years before they started doing that stuff building a banking framework that people wanted to bank with. I mean, their check accounts and what you get for your bank fees, e-bucks as a loyalty structure, the fundamental things that make a bank. They first aligned all of that, then they started building the honeypot on top of it.
Simon, but can I tell you what the problem is? It's starting to come apart at the seams a little bit because
Too many people switching.
and they're having shocking experiences
Yeah.
during the switch. All right.
It's a great problem.
I've heard that. I've heard that
Yeah.
a couple of people.
Me myself, I sent an email, wanting to upgrade an account, and I got an email back saying, thank you very much for your interest in switching to FNB. And I went, excuse me, all right, you want to make a customer of 24 years feel alienated? You just did a great job.
Brett,
all
can
right?
I just tell you something?
Silly
Every
little things like
CEO
that.
that's not in FNB and banking right now wishes they had the problem that Michael's got.
Totally, too many
problem.
people.
No, sure.
And I think it's for
Sure,
him
but
to
you
solve.
don't want your stalwarts, and you don't want the people, your most loyal customers that have been there for 24 years to turn around and say, excuse me, all right, I totally understand your need to grow your bank and be awesome, but at the end of the day, if you're going to forget who I am in the process and
Yeah, but
treat me
Brett, that's
badly,
not the
I'm going to
majority
walk
of the
away.
Realistically, when have you ever been able to email a South African corporate and they compare that email with their database so they know who you are?
No. I'm asking
doesn't
them.
exist.
No, Andy. I'm asking them to read the email I sent them, because the email I got back inside the mail
What's
trail
your
was my
response?
original question. No. It was written from somebody that didn't actually read the email that I
There's
sent
this
them.
Afrikaans saying, in 'n land van die blinde, een oogkoning," right? So
The man of the blind.
I
the land of the blind, the one
think,
hand,
I suppose.
the
I
one-eyed
think,
man
but
is
I think
king.
that I
Can't get anything
it's
right.
not about technology. It's not about what they did. I think, to be in my honest opinion, it's Michael.
The CEO.
It's leadership.
Look, he is a legend.
It's leadership. It's a guy that said, you know
But it's
what?
also the innovation,
I'm-
Stafford.
But you can't do innovation. You can't do all these cool things if you don't have leadership that's bought in.
Definitely. No,
that
definitely.
says, you know, guys, execute,
Yeah.
do the right thing, and he's involved. If you speak to Michael, he gets it.
He's the
how many-
smartest man in the game by...
You speak to any other CEO
Yeah.
of any other bank, and they deflect you away.
Yes.
They don't
Yeah.
really know. Michael's on shows. He's talking about, he's using the stuff.
My favorite
he's
story.
experiencing it.
My favorite story is I get invited to Bank City. This was about 4 years ago. ABSA to go and interview their CIO. So I go to this place, right, and they just finished those new buildings in town.
Yeah.
Like they've occupied 4 squares of city block in the middle of downtown Johannesburg. And you walk in, the first thing you see is this building's hollow in the middle. They spent millions building a hollow building so they can hang this piece of corporate artwork. And basically, what it does is, the moment you walk through the door, it goes, screw you, look at what we did with your money. We put this ugly
Yeah.
piece of crap that cost 120 million rand in the middle of and then I would go up to his office, have the interview, very nice guy. On my way out, his secretary gives me a gift. It's a tin with an ABSA tie inside. I'm like, you guys are living in the Jurassic period.
But that's what Occupy Wall Street's all about, man. I think that's kind of finally hit that. I read the stat that every time you deposit $10 into a bank, 9 immediately leaves and gets traded. Immediately.
At 50 times the leverage.
And it's gone. It's like, it's not, your money is gone. They've done something with it, or it's being traded and it's being moved
Yeah.
instantaneously. But let's just get back to that whole NFC thing.
Yeah.
Okay, for me, NFC is a geek way of payment that's misguided, and it doesn't take the entire payment ecosystem into account. I think that NFC doesn't solve a problem. I always say this when Henry Ford said, if I had to ask people to make a better form of transportation, they would have said faster horses.
Yeah.
For me, NFC is the faster horse.
Sure.
Can I disagree with you?
Wait, let me.
But I'm going to change the argument completely. It's not about payments for me. It's about enabling my phone to save like a ton of battery life on Bluetooth, But when I bring it close to a Bluetooth-enabled device, it activates. That, for me, is what NFC
So
does.
I think,
That's rad.
but hold on. So I think Brett's got a point because NFC is just a mechanism, right?
Yeah.
For Foursquare check-ins, it replaces QR codes, which were a stupid idea. But now you just take your phone near a poster, and details of that concert come to your phone, and you can buy tickets. Like that's cool, right?
I think it's niche.
Just for transferring
I think it's
links.
niche. I think NFC has niches, and I believe the next form of payment will be cardless.
Okay.
Will be card not present. I do.
But not NFC.
No, 'cause I
You
think
don't
it will.
need NFC.
I think it will be geofencing. Geofencing is
Okay.
the first instantiation of proximity-based payments, where what you do is based upon geo-proximity, you create an authentication framework that's location-oriented. It's like what we saw.
It's good for security, yeah.
But just take a look at what notifications, what happened with notifications with geofencing. You know, instead of getting general notifications around things and reminders, when you geofenced it, reminders became about where you were.
Right.
So when you walked into Pick and Pay, it'd say, hey, remember the milk. Right? It wasn't just remember the milk in a list that was flat.
Yes.
It was geo-aware, geo-orientated, geo-fencing based. And I think people in payments need to study the geo-fencing spec. And I do think that guys like WayTag and some of these companies out there that are looking at location orientation, where it says, you know what, I'm going to take my phone, launch an app, and I'm going to look for all beneficiaries, retailers, etc. I'm going to open up a tab, and I'm going to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to allow these people to bill me when I walk in. I'll put the phone back in my bag when I walk into that coffee shop. I don't take anything out.
Yes.
I don't want to hit my phone on anything. I don't want to touch anything.
I just want to do my thing
It's
and
not
leave.
contactless payments. You guys are lying because I have to take a phone and make it contact something.
Yes.
Contactless payments live in the geo world of payments.
But Stafford, don't you...
Yeah, where you walk in and you pay with your face.
Yes.
You
But
don't
don't you
pay
think
with your
NFC is
device.
a stopgap between that reality and where we
No.
are now? No.
Because users hate NFC. Users don't trust NFC. How do you do a full
How
recon
are
on
they
an
going to
NFC
trust?
payment?
Well, okay. So if they don't trust NFC for a sec, how are
Yes.
they going to trust the concept of I am in Santon? Allow every single retailer
you're not
in
doing that.
Santon.
No, you're not doing
No. I will quote you exactly.
Yeah.
I'm
A
in this
a
geographic area.
retailer.
I allow.
retailer.
No,
Hey,
you said every retailer in
you
the
have
area.
access to every retailer, but you pick your retailer. You say, okay, I'm going to
So I'll
allow
go,
Woolies.
okay, so-
I'm going to allow Figo.
Okay,
And
I'm
how do
walking
you
into
pick
Woolies
them?
now, so I'm still taking my
Geo-based.
phone.
You say
Stafford, I'm
these are
still
the
But is it
taking
on
my
your phone?
Yes, there's
Okay.
an app on your phone that you say, here's the retailers that are geo-fenced. I pick Figo because I want to grab a coffee at Figo. I pick Figo and I say, open up a tab.
And because you like the omelets.
I throw my phone in my bag. When I walk into Figo, my face pops up on the point of sale as I walk in. And I pick what I want, I buy my coffee, and I walk out and I say, put it on Stafford, and it's done. Square card case. does
Mikey in
this.
the chat room says he's going to walk in with a photo of his friend and destroy his bank account.
So for
You
me,
can't
that's
do that, man.
so
It's
for
so
me that's
safe.
no different because what you're doing is you're taking your phone out to enable something and then putting it in your pocket, as opposed to
You don't have to take it out, Brett. You don't have to deploy readers. You don't have to deploy NFC. Look, every single NFC, first of all, is an
Figo a
unratified
blanket
Wait, just hang on. NFC is an
license
unratified
to take money out of
spec.
my bank account every time they see my face
Okay,
in the store.
maybe I'm wrong, but
No,
I don't think
I'm
it's
struggling
NFC.
to understand it. I
Okay,
mean,
I
I'm
struggle
not
to
saying you're wrong.
understand your
I'm struggling
rationale
to
around
understand
NFC.
it.
And I'm
Okay.
about to punch you.
So
And
this is
where-
No. I'm just
I like
struggling to
this. I
understand
like
it.
this.
Explain.
I would love it if you punched him, and I'd love it if Brett you punched him back. I'd love it if we gave Andy a chance to.
Hey, I'm just watching.
but let's chill
Can I
out
just
a
say
bit.
let me
Yes.
say my last thing about
Okay.
NFC. Okay, number one is NFC is a standard that's not fully ratified.
True.
Its deployment and the chipset in every single manufacturer's device is autonomous with self-interest. That creates vertical silos and non-standard ways
Well,
of
we've seen that
communication.
happening already. Yeah.
NFC readers are not unanimous in terms of its identification of every single one of these implementations and deployments. To enable NFC requires a deployment of NFC readers and infrastructure into every single one of these environments. The cost, the non-standard deployments, the self-interest and the way people are going about from a cell phone manufacturing to a Google to a local telco to a bank's deployment of NFC is going to be completely autonomous. Why? Because every single one of those folks in the chain want to own the wallet. And so they're customizing NFC for their self-purpose. So already you've got what I call a digital class of civilizations with NFC. Secondly, to enable NFC in an ecosystem is freaking hard because of all those factors. And it's more expensive than having a credit card reader from Altec in your store. Why would I want NFC? I'll stick with credit cards, thank you. And secondly is users don't like touching their phones on stuff. It's proven. You tell somebody touch your phone and payment happens. They feel uncomfortable with wait a minute, what if I change my mind around this? What if the product breaks and I don't want it anymore? Do I double tap for a return product? Who owns my wallet? And there's a lot of user aspects of this that has been ignored. So as far as NFC is concerned, I think it's a geek form of payment with beautiful geekiness about it. And us in the geek world, we love it because it's sexy and we touch stuff and things happen. But it's not what the consumer in the mainstream world
I'm
wants.
way more worried about letting a waiter take my credit card away from the table.
My 15-second, take on this is, I think there's a lot more trust required for somebody to look into a camera and pay.
Okay. Well, let's leave it at that. We need to
much bigger level of
we
trust.
need
that
to
needs
move
be built
along.
there.
I want to talk about BlackBerry really quickly because they are our other sponsors of the
Wait,
Z8 Tech
Andy
Show.
wanted to say something.
And he's going to say something in a moment. And he's going to have a whole lot to say because we're about to unlock really cool topics after we talk about BlackBerry. Yeah, we're going next level, dude. We're gonna start badgification. You don't like bread anymore.
Bread.
That's okay. You guys kiss and make up while I switch off your mics now and talk about BlackBerry. The Blackberry Torch 9810 smartphone is now available in South Africa. If you like the Torch, you'll love the 9810. It's the same deal in terms of form factor, but it's now running BlackBerry 7, 40% faster than BlackBerry 6 smartphones. It's also got a 1.2 gigahertz processor and that new liquid graphics engine, so everything just happens really silkily smoothly on... It's terrible, hey? Silky smooth. Anyway, silky smooth on the new Torch 9810. It's all heading south tonight. So check it out if you're in the market for a new phone at the moment and BlackBerry's your thing. The 9810 is now available. As I said, 1.2 gigahertz CPU, much faster than the previous Torch, and BlackBerry 7, OS 7, which is looking fantastic. And of course, thank you to BlackBerry for their support of the Z8 Tech Show. Love having them on board. Brett stepped out of the room, not with Stafford.
So do a mini iPad pick.
If we step out of this room.
Colloquy. That's how we're following the chat room.
Yes.
Well, that's how I'm following the chat room while these two furiously go at each other.
So I want to talk about two things before we get to our picks of the week. The one is the 25th of November has come and gone and the iPhone 4S has not launched in South Africa. I like being right.
The 4S.
Yeah. I was only right because my sources were right, but I can't tell you who they are. But it launched last Friday, which was the 25th. It launched in India and a number of other countries. We were supposed to be in that rollout, but things didn't work out. It launched in Mauritius today.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. And I have it on good authority, and you guys have probably heard the same thing, that we'll see it in South Africa around the 14th of December.
Correct.
Weird time to launch a new product.
It's interesting, though, because generally when you look at it in terms of launch of product, and I've spoken to a number of the guys at the networks and stuff like that, specifically people trying to supply handsets into networks. Yeah. One of the difficult things is the networks need those products listed, stock secured, and shipped by November. They very, very rarely actually ever list a product in December. And a product very, very rarely becomes available during December and January. The buyers have gone on leave, the stock is allocated, that's that. And that's generally why you see a lot of stock shortages and shops running out of stock and stuff like that during that period.
Well, we're going to see shortages. Yeah, I mean, one of our listeners who was in Mauritius today said you just can't get hold of a 4S. They were all pre-ordered and gone and done. You'll have to wait for the second
That's the other thing that's been ridiculously irritating, because all of the networks are playing such shadow games in terms of availability. No one has allowed you to do any form of pre-order.
Well, they can't.
I've been asking and kind of going, please, can I put my name down somewhere? I don't mind when it launches. I just want to know that I get one of the first ones.
Despite what some of the third parties will tell you, Apple doesn't really allow for pre-ordering on the iPhone.
Vodacom managed to do it when the iPhone
but
launched.
Apple does not dig it. And also, they usually don't know until like 3 weeks before the time that they're getting it in the first place. So
yeah.
They kind of try and take a best guess at when they'll launch it with their
So did
pre-orders.
you say 12th of December?
14 December.
14
That's what I'm
December in
being
South
told.
Africa.
It could change again.
Oh.
But
you know what's interesting? In the United States, I think they often launch around the holiday season because you can spend a couple of $100 on a present. In South Africa, it's a 12,000 Rand phone that pretty much you have to get on a contract.
12,000 Rand?
That's what the iPhone 3G cost.
Well, dude, times have changed. The iPhone 4 is like 5.5, 6, depending on whether you got the 16 or 32. Yes, definitely. Cash
Really?
price.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you can now
Cash
get,
price.
dude.
Well, 6.5. I think.
I got
was
it.
the-
Offer sent to me today because my contract's up for renewal. The one contract is a Talk 120 that I have with my BlackBerry, and the offer I got sent is to unbolt BIS from it, but keep it on a Talk 120, and they'd offer me a 32 gig iPhone 4 for free. on a
Yeah.
Talk 120. It's like a low
prices have
package.
come down quite a
And that's a
Okay, I
32
didn't
gig
know it was that
version of
much.
it, right?
Okay,
So
but still, I think the point remains is that you wouldn't spend $6,000 on a present, but you'd spend $200 on a present.
Yeah.
And
Possibly.
so launching in the Christmas season here doesn't actually make a difference because it's really when the majority of contracts come up for renewal.
Look, I think if it's the
all the
iPhone,
time.
it doesn't really matter when you.
I was going to say that. It's not about a seasonal thing.
no, look, it's going to cruise, yeah.
Yeah. Although I think at this stage, a lot of the more savvy users are looking at it and going, "It's not too long until we see the iPhone 5, potentially. So maybe I'll just wait."
It won't come next year. So.
Look, the way Apple's
Cyclically,
designed this
it'll-
cycle is the iPhone 4S was designed for iPhone 3GS users who are now their 2 years are up and they're upgrading. You know,
Sure.
that's to its launch
They
date.
did the same thing with the 3GS.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in the 3GS
It's
cycle,
incremental.
though, because you're going to go from 3GS to 4S to
5S,
5S to,
yeah.
you're always going to be in
Or
the
whatever
tweener.
it's in.
You know?
It's called. You're just going to have that piece of glass, right? With the.
Yes,
indeed.
that was
I
a
want the
great
bendable
mock-up.
glass that I can like mold around stuff and stick to stuff. That would be
Anyway.
So there's an easy hack for this. Geek relationship hack number 1 is make sure you and your girlfriend / wife / mistress have cell phone contracts that come up for
1
renewal.
year apart. Yeah, indeed. Look
1
at
year
me,
apart.
buddy.
And then you take the upgrade. Every year you get a new phone.
Not a bad idea.
You can have flowers if I get my 4S. Thank you.
Flowers and a back rub.
The other thing that's been sort of popping on the radar this week is MWEB's naked ADSL PR campaign. Really, so what they've done is they're getting their users on social networks to force Telkom to allow you to take an ADSL line without the voice line as well. At the moment, you have to get both. And they're saying that's not fair. If I just want a data line, I should save the, 45 Rand or 80 Rand a month.
Totally. I must agree
Which
with
adds
them
up.
there. Yeah.
But I think it's just clever marketing from MWEB. Everybody's tweeting about their campaign. So there's that. Not really much to say, is there? Telkom should have done this ages ago. Whatever.
Yeah, look,
Moving right along.
It's because executives are now measuring you by the number of tweets, not the number of sales.
Yeah, because that
You
matters.
can't wait for the market to right itself. Because
It's a crazy time, right?
Oh, no.
You know, for example, we saw this Nando's ad go viral this week and go onto Time Magazine's website.
front page of YouTube,
Yeah.
man, it flew.
And the
It's
social
ridiculous.
networking component was genius. It really was. And Melissa Tree and Mike Sharman deserve the credit for running a very good social media campaign. But you have to separate that out. That content would have gone viral anyway. That ad was brilliant.
Sure.
And the social networking guys did a great job of
Seeded
punting it.
Yeah.
But they didn't, conceptualize the video, which would have made it onto Time Magazine's website anyway.
But isn't that the general rule of why social media is such a moderately effective marketing tool? Is that if the content is awesome, it's going to go viral. If the content is not awesome, it's not going to go viral.
Yes.
There's no amount of poking and liking that is going to change that.
Yeah, even if the first guy who tweeted about that advert had 6 followers, it still would have gone viral because it's an awesome advert.
You know what
Aren't
was
you guys like a little battle fatigue or like
Jaded.
social media fatigue?
Yes, totally.
I'm like
dude.
so tired of listening to social media. Everyone's now a social media expert, and everyone is a social media marketing expert. I was like,
So
just
true, hey?
go away.
So
But
true.
you know what strikes me, and I was involved in judging the bookmarks this year, and it got me to thinking about it, is the creative agencies who have always been involved in advertising are now more valuable than ever because there's so much minutia and rubbish on YouTube that you have to design something absolutely phenomenal to rise above the noise, like the Nando's ad did. And so your creatives who have always been good at devising clever adverts, they're now more valuable than the social networking experts, which is kind of ironic, isn't it?
It is.
So, you know what's really interesting? I got to do a speaking tour with SAP recently, and it was on how social culture affects BI.
Oh, wow.
And I think that is now another thing to start talking about because I am generally social media fatigued. But when you start to use, and SAP is pumping out some amazing stuff. All smartphone apps and iPad apps that plug into your cloud kind of SAP
Sure.
clients, and then they do sentiment analysis.
It's amazing how everything's. I think SAP's in trouble, by the way, but it's amazing how everything is consumer based at the moment. I mean, enterprise technology could not be more boring right now. It's like ERP and BI and
Yeah,
CRM. Who gives a crap?
they're
Just give me an
starting to
iPad
change
app
it
that
though,
lets
eh?
me speak to my ERP system.
So
and
you hit on something very important because I spoke 3 weeks or 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago to a whole bunch of CIOs, and I said what I see happening now in enterprise architectures and software, etc., is you've got your today world and then you've got your now world, right? And I think the now world is this lightweight, iterative, component-based architectures popping up where you get instead of having an asset management system that you traditionally have, you now overlay your asset management system, or something overlays your asset management system that augments it, makes it more real-time, makes it more now, like having a drone fly and have optical equipment inside of it that releases real-time visual renders of your assets that overlays your asset management system. And I think, we're almost seeing where enterprises are doing what they're always going to do, and they have an important place, but we've got this lightweight stuff that's moving along, that's iterative, quick, fast, and it's, like I said, it's lightweight, but it adds this real-time, today, right now model on top of the enterprise architecture. And I think that's exciting. Yeah. And it's not I don't know what to call that category of it. It's like enterprise augmentation.
Yes.
Enterprise real-time augmentation, where you've got some real-time data, imagery, etc., overlaying traditional big fat stuff. And I think that's where it's exciting. But you're right. In Google, we used to say this all the time: outside the firewall has surpassed inside the firewall.
Right, definitely.
Kids
it's
going
all about
into enterprises now
now.
hate working.
But look, I'm just pretty stoked when a big ERP vendor starts punting out reports with a tag cloud in it. Because that means they've actually taken a physical step to looking at data differently and taking different data inputs.
Right.
And that was the whole theme of these workshops, was look at the amazing amount of data we have out there.
Right.
Like the example I keep on telling people is, what if you get your CRM system to capture Twitter accounts, okay? Because most of them don't, or they're not being captured. And then what you have is you pull all that data in, it's all open. You have an emotional thermometer of every single one of your customers.
Yes.
I think you're tapping on something, Andy, that I think is very, very big in the next I think from now in the next 5 years, and that's big data.
Yeah.
People call it big data, etc., but the ability to aggregate all this data, correlate all this data, and make it make sense. Yeah.
So that's the trick, because it often doesn't make sense.
And I think that's where skill sets need to be focused. I keep telling students this: keep going down this route.
Yes.
The actuaries that get bored with what they're doing, I keep telling them, move over to the IT world, because we need the numbers minds. We need the folks that are analytical, that can take data and look at structures of data that are big and huge and correlate them and make them make sense.
So just in terms of that, Andy, I do agree with you in terms of the emotional thermometer. The biggest challenge there, however, and it's something that was actually raised at Tech for Africa last year, is it is extremely difficult to algorithmically determine the positivity or negativity of a tweet.
Oh, yeah.
A human can take a look at a tweet and say, okay, so there was a positive sentiment or a negative sentiment. That's what the problem's going to be. There's a technology gap that needs to be bridged in terms of that large data, that really, really big data. An algorithm's going to have to chunk through all of that stuff and score it like insanely positive, insanely negative, or somewhere in between, because then you can start using BI tools to do something valuable with it. But until then, I think it's going to be a bit of a challenge.
There's a lot of research money and a lot of research brains going into doing that.
True.
And it's probably some of the tricks they learned with Siri about natural language processing is going to kick sentiment analysis as an industry forward.
It's very interesting.
Because right now, you know how they're delivering on that, and this is the thing that came out of Tech for Africa. They're micro-sourcing it to countries where you have tons of refugees. Because a human can take a look at a tweet and say this is positive or negative, and for scoring each tweet, they'll earn like, 1 US cents or 10 US cent.
Yeah.
And these are people that aren't necessarily making money anyway, so it's a great model for getting them economically active. But
it's not sustainable.
No, indeed it's not. Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, let's put a fork in that one and move on to our picks of the week, because we are running out of time. And we'll start with Andy Hadfield. Let's do it alphabetically.
Okay.
What is your pick of the week?
What is my pick? A quick pick.
Quick picks.
Quick picks. It's an iPad app called 7 Billion.
7 billion. There's 7 billion people on Earth right now.
Exactly.
Has it got something to do with that?
Yeah, it's the National Geographic. So there's two interesting things about this pick. One is how you can release an app as a very temporary piece of content.
Right.
Almost like a campaign. I think I said the same thing about the Rugby World Cup app and how Land Rover sponsored it. This is a very temporary. It'll never be anything more than this set of articles and interactive videos and interactive
National Geographic's done an amazing set of content around this whole 7 billion phenomenon.
Correct, and this is all
I used their video in one of my talks, actually.
Yeah, this is all their content, and it's probably that intro video,
yes,
the infographic style.
The infographic video, which is amazing.
Yeah,
it's
and
really
that's
good.
front page of this. And so that's the first thing is how people are using apps as media now.
Yeah.
You see it also with bands. Bands are releasing albums as apps. And I think that's a fascinating kind of cultural trend. And then just because the information is really interesting, and it dispels a lot of myths people have or misperceptions people have,
especially about emerging markets, right?
Emerging markets and what 7 billion people are doing to the planet, and where the actual problems are. Because we think we're overcrowded. We're not really overcrowded.
I love that stat where if we stood shoulder to shoulder, everybody on Earth would fit into Los Angeles, right?
Yeah.
And they say it's not space we need, it's balance between
Correct.
resources.
And that's what this app does. And it's just perfectly suited to the tablets.
Very cool. Nice pick. I like it.
And it's free, Stafford, so you don't have to pay your $1.99. Cheap ass.
It's Credit Crunch too, dude.
Where have you been? 2.0. Bretsky, what's your pick this week?
I've got two very quick ones, and I'll do them very, very quickly. The one thing that I've been looking to get my hands on for a while, and I've had it for about a week now, is the Lenovo ThinkPad tablet.
And he's got it in studio for those of you watching the video.
And Android tablets, it's no secret, haven't been my favorite. The only one that's really gotten me excited so far was the Asus EEE pad
Thingy.
with the keyboard dock and everything else. What I like about this is it takes it to that level in terms of you've got a really, really nice traditional ThinkPad type keyboard for it.
Yes.
It's an Android tablet. It's fully loaded with specs, incidentally. 64 gigs of flash, 3G, running the latest version of Android. It's got all the hygiene factors. A couple of things that are cool, and why I'd recommend it for business users is Gorilla Glass screen, so it's super robust. It's got that ThinkPad build quality about it. Security, tons of security features. The ability to encrypt.
You're making a noise again, Andy.
Encrypt SD cards,
You can't keep
encrypt
it quiet
internal
tonight.
flash. And the other thing is it works really, really well with Windows networks. So you can join it to a domain, you can get access to shares, and you can put it inside Active Directory, which is kind of cool. No other Android tablet does that right now, and I think that's really rad. It's going to be the thing that from a consumerization of IT perspective really gets tablets into the business in a way that IT managers trust it, and it's quite smart from them being able to do that. So,
But why would you carry that instead of a laptop which is the same size?
10-hour battery life.
Oh, okay. And other than that, you can obviously take, just the
It's a
screen
touch
portion
screen.
off.
It's got so it turns into a normal tablet.
Let me see it.
It's got a stylus that's very, very precise, which is cool.
And I think Lenovo's got a deal with Wacom to do their styluses. Is this one of those?
So this is it's called they draw the distinction between it being a stylus and a digitizer, which I think is cool.
Right.
So
is this one a Wacom?
I'm not sure. I know it's the very, very precise. It's not the normal touchscreen vibe. It takes a little battery and it does all
nice
kinds
and
of
light.
interesting stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I've always loved the industrial design of the ThinkPad range.
They're just so tough.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And it really is going to be a cool accessory. Yeah, it's not going to replace a laptop just yet, but for people that need to fit that corporate mold, this is a great device, and it'll adhere to all of the security standards and stuff.
Nice
like that
leather
the
case.
business needs. Yeah, leather case. It's interesting. So the little red mouse pointer thing is actually optical. So it's no longer one of those little red things that you kind of squeeze.
Like the BlackBerry trackpads.
Yeah, you just slide your finger across it, which is really nice. So,
very cool.
So this I've been massively impressed with. It's quick. It's not so light inside the case. I mean, feel that's when it gets heavy.
Yeah.
But
and it's not as light as a MacBook Air.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Cool.
interesting device. The second thing is a iPhone app that has absolutely blown my head this week. It's been really,
Blown
really
your
interesting
head.
to play that. It's like, okay, blown my head off. It's been
Okay.
blown my mind is what I'm trying to
All
say.
right.
Okay. It's
You'll
a
get
free
to it,
application. It's a free application that's available
there's
for
Stafford.
iPhone and
What's it called?
and Windows Phone called Lemon.
Lemon.
All right. And what Lemon is, it is an electronic bill tracker. So what you do is you sign up for an account, you get 100 scans free. So when you buy lunch for somebody, whatever the case is, you put the slip down on the table, you take a photo of it. It pushes it up into the cloud. It does OCR, all right?
Evernote style.
So it breaks it down into who it's from. So today I had lunch at Mr. Bojangles, $146. It does OCR on the bill, which is cool. It sits in
Wow.
the cloud. If you want to look at it, you then hit the little eye icon, and it shows you a scan of the bill.
Very cool.
So let's just pull this out of the cloud. But what's rad about it, you get 100 free scans a month. All right. And I mean, that's not a fantastic scan. This is like a photograph of the bull, right? But here's what's rad about it. It's got these categories. So you can categorize them, obviously personal, business, whatever. But if you think about us that travels the amount we do, it's really nice to say that Las Vegas trip, all right? My personal expenses for Las Vegas, my business trips for it, and you chuck the bills away. How many times do you come back with
secret cache of receipts for Stafford?
Well, it's
so you can
it's
have like his
protected.
official
It's
receipts.
password protected, Mr. Masie, so it's right up there for you.
This is why you always
Think
we
about
always
son.
die in the beginning of the movie.
How often do you come back with a handful of slips? Seriously. Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
That's
you
great.
had to bring the Smurfs into it, really.
Yeah, how did you last like an hour? Dude?
Okay, just keep going. Keep going.
We're on video and
Playing
everything.
that card.
Okay, so Lemon, track your receipts.
Yes.
Very cool.
Available, interestingly enough, only for iPhone or iOS
It's Android.
and Windows Phone. Oh, is it available for Android as
Yeah.
well? But it's very interesting that there's a Windows Phone version of it. And synchronizes great across all of those devices. So
Very
But
cool.
Go get it, it's
Evernote
free.
does the same thing except for the categorizing.
Yeah.
yeah, this is specifically for bills, which is
I like
kind of
that.
nice as well. It's
Yeah.
a specific app. Just
You know
for
what I'd
bills,
like
so.
it to do too is do correlations over time, or not just render my spending patterns and to show me the top 3 places where I'm spending money. Stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Alrighty.
Can I
Stafford.
interject a 5-second?
Well, I
Yes.
think it would be
Pick
easy to
on.
figure out. Never mind.
Pick on the iPad for ignoring the volume button.
What?
It always happens. I have my iPad permanently on mute,
Yeah, Andy.
and yet every app will override it and play nasty sounds.
Finger
when
trouble.
you got on mute, yeah.
I have to
that's-
fix finger trouble.
It overrides mute.
You're going to have
Cool.
to
So there's
stop
no
watching
point-
Can
porn
I get
on your
to my
iPad,
picks
dude.
weeks? Else we're not gonna
Yeah.
have time.
Stafford, what's your pick, dude?
Stafford picks the Smurfs.
Yeah, you know what the Smurfs is, right? The sensory, membronic,
Yeah.
Oh, dear God.
ubiquitous, real-time federated subsystem. Okay, so my pick of the week is, and that's instead of cloud. We'll have, on another show, I'll also talk about why cloud's a lie.
I was just looking at that.
So one of the things that I like to mess with, and we're messing with it more and more, and Simon knows the particular project that we're working on where we're messing with this, is the whole thing of Internet of Things, but not in that big philosophical view of Internet of Things, the real stuff. So there's a bunch of students that have released something that's called Twine. Now you can go take a look at Twine. It's to me, it's one of the coolest things that has been released. It's this whole notion of having an object that links with an accelerometer built into it. It takes AAA batteries. It lasts for months. It can detect the temperature. It can detect like I said, motion, et cetera. And what you do is you just whack it onto things, and it's got this beautiful dashboard. So you can go to supermechanical.com/twine. So supermechanical.com/twine, and it will resolve to the Kickstarter project. So it's very much in its fledgling of operation, but just take a look at it. It's like you can throw this thing on a door and say, when the door is knocked between this time and this time, tweet me and say someone's at the door.
That's very cool.
Or when the temperature in the basement goes up, or the dense
Looks like a bath soap.
yeah, but isn't it cool though? I mean, it's just take a look at the specs and you'll see it takes AAA batteries. You put it on anything, you hang it on anything, and suddenly in your home you've got Internet of Things.
It's
And
I see it's raised $115,000 on Kickstarter already.
So we've thrown in some money into it, but we want to really. This is where it becomes Internet of Things kind of consumerized, where everyone can do this now. You can throw this into your car, you can throw it in your basement, in your
So
house.
you'd
when you
buy
go
like
away.
30, 40 of these devices and stick
Yeah.
them on stuff and
But it's easy. The
Yeah.
UI, if you look at the app, it says
Is it
like
using Arduino? No.
yeah, there's an
There's
Arduino
an
in it.
Arduino
Yeah.
base.
And so when you take a look at it, I mean, inside of it, you pick on the accelerometer
Nice.
feature, and it says when the accelerometer is knocked, moves 45 degrees. Now, there's so much Boolean in it, but it says then tweet. And it
Yeah.
sends to your Twitter. I think it's really cool. Like, example, when we spoke about putting an Arduino sensor for soil composition
Yes.
and moisture density, your pot plant can tweet
Yeah.
when it needs water and how
thirsty,
much
yeah.
based upon this is it. Yeah, it is. And it's
Great.
easy and it's quick and it's not geeky. Now, when we looked into this, the reason we liked it because we've been doing when I say we, I've got 9 developers working on this. It's really hard work to get the Internet of Things going. And it's not simple.
Yeah.
This is such a simple form factor with a beautiful app that suddenly allows everything to tweet and be interconnected and work together, and it's beautiful. I mean,
Yeah,
if you start
it's got
playing
a
with it,
rule-based engine, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
tell it
That's
when this
simple.
happens, do that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
internal temperature sensor, internal accelerometer for vibration, magnetic switch.
So you
useful
could
for doors.
you could retrofit an air conditioner and
Yeah.
say when the temperature gets to this,
Switch
switch
it
it on or switch
Or
it
Which
off. or
amazingly
whatever.
enough, air conditioners cannot do, and it's like 2011, dude.
Very
So
cool. I love
that's
this.
that's
It's
an
got a
extension.
vibration sensor.
That comes from the accelerometer, you know?
How much
Yeah.
are they aiming
Very
at in
cool.
terms of these individual devices? I mean, how much are you going to end up
Cost.
paying for them?
Well, we don't know right now. Right?
Well, I
Should
know
I
they're
pledge
saying
some?
that like
Should I pledge some
third,
money?
third of
Please,
Pledge
pledge,
some
pledge. Give these
Yeah.
guys
Jan. No,
money.
I'm going to
This
give
is
them some cash, but
yeah.
it would be interesting to know. So your take, how much does this device end up costing? Because it needs to be at that right price point where I'll buy 10 of them. One is not going to make a massive difference. That's geeky.
So
10 is starting
So
to
what
get
I
really
like
cool.
about what they're doing is, even if you start drilling in and you look at the project, and when you've got time, you'll see that a lot of what they're building is completely open. So you can actually build with components on the ground yourself.
Because Arduino
Oh,
is
nice.
Creative
Okay.
Commons hardware.
That's
Oh,
Arduino.
wow. All right.
So this is my second one of the week, which is Arduino.cc.
Check it. I love the notifications on iPhone that they're showing off now. So his Twine app is telling him there's somebody at his front door.
Yeah,
I mean, that's awesome.
That is
Just
very
for
cool.
somebody knocking on the
your
door.
door.
I think
So,
it's
and then
awesome.
you can say when someone knocks more than once, then notify me. So when they knock once, you don't want maybe there's someone but when someone knocks more than once,
They
action.
are going to sell so many of these.
I think this is the
They're gonna
Internet
sell
of Things
50 to
in your
me.
home quickly. And from a developer perspective, a component-based perspective, like please, everyone, play with this. And I
How
love
do
the
you
form
spell
factor.
Arduino?
ARDUINO
Yeah.
.cc. Now the second pick of the week that I have is this whole movement with the Maker Faire
Yes.
with O'Reilly, but also where in the United States now they instead of sunsetting some of the libraries, they are actually opening up Arduino play places inside of the libraries.
Oh, that's cool.
So you make stuff in the library. So you go there and you can mess around with Arduino open source hardware. And the library gets funding for it. The government throws money in. And it's not a book that's in the library. It's an Arduino component set. So you can go there, you can build it. It's open source. It has to be. And you can mess around and build something. And you put it, and someone else comes along and they build on top of that. And someone else comes along and build on
What's
top
the
of that.
name of that project?
Just go to Arduino library
Somewhere on
project,
the
and
Arduino,
if you, I was searching earlier and I couldn't get to it, but I read the article and I'll share it with you and you can tweet it out. But
Man, the things that are happening in this space at the moment.
but
not
that's
all
what
of which we
point is,
could.
right? It's the maker thing. It's we moving away. Like hardware matters again,
Yeah.
and that's like the electrical engineers matter again. We're not just these guys in the background plumbing. Now it's
Arduino
actually
playground, there we go.
Yeah, and I think that for me, this is big, and I'm trying to introduce it. There's these library science committee guys that I've met. I think it was week before last, and I shared with them this. And I said, stop trying to build libraries again. Build them, but don't put books in them per se. Have your ebook strategy, but build Arduino, making labs inside of them. It's cheap. It's open source hardware.
So easy for guys to do now.
You just walk in. You don't need an electrical engineering degree. I mean, you know what's happening with Arduino in the States with the Maker Faire, with O'Reilly? You're getting 8 and 9-year-olds loving electrical sciences again.
Yeah.
They're loving physics again. They're getting back into making things and making robotics and it's not about making things that are complete products, but making things that matter to you.
Yeah.
So you know what, when you can say, like there's this guy in San Francisco and they just built these little Arduino sensors on the bicycle sharing depots, and he plugged little just little like light sensors into a map. Physically broke the map and said, when the 3 lights are on, I know there's bikes available when I walk past there. And he put it right next to his door. And now everyone's doing it. And it's not about making things that are nice. It's about making things.
And it's not about owning them either. It's about opening them up.
It's about opening up. And this is what's going on again.
Yeah.
And I think this is this new movement that's out there in the world today. It's about making things and making them open and allowing people to access them.
Arduino is one of the most important things happening in the world
to me,
right now.
it is the biggest thing that's going on right
Very cool. Like it.
Twine.
I'm
Mess
going to
around
take a
with
twine and tie it to my dog.
Yeah.
See what I can
With
do.
some twine, yeah.
If he falls in the pool, I'll know about it. He's a baby.
But
Okay.
it should tweet after 5 minutes if it's still wet, because then you know he hasn't got out of the pool yet.
2 of them actually still need 2. They're going to sell so many. Anyway, I'll quickly do my pick. It's a very simple pick. Unfortunately, it's iOS only, but it's a scanning application for the iPhone. And I stumbled across it last week. I was in Sweden, in Stockholm, speaking at the Stockholm School of Entrepreneurship. And the night before my talk, I chucked out all my slides, and I decided to get some serviettes from the restaurant and make my slides on the back of serviettes, so it looked like serviette ideas, But I needed something to scan them with in my hotel room late at night. So I downloaded Genius Scan for iPhone. And what it does is, when you take a picture of a document, it detects the edges of the document, comes up with a 3D sort of plane, and then levels it out and kind of pulls everything into what it, the orientation it should be for a scan, for a paper scan. And if it's wrong, you can drag the edges and kind of adjust where it is, and it'll turn your picture of a piece of paper into a perfect scan of that document. And then you can enhance it for text recognition if you want, and do all sorts of cool things with it. If you pay for the app, there's a pro version that integrates with Evernote, so you can scan a document, send it straight to Evernote, where Evernote, of course, will OCR it as well. You can scan whiteboards, you can scan scraps of paper lying on a table.
Cool.
It's a rad little application. So if you want to turn your iPhone into a scanner, check out Genius Scan, and I'm sure it's available for Android. Well, I'm sure there's similar applications available for Android. Genius Scan isn't.
You know how many
Very
times
cool.
I've done that? Where I've actually done it at the Computer Associates conference this year. I was the keynote speaker. And I arrived there and I was in a condition that I should not have been in before you do a keynote because of the previous night's activities. And I just didn't know how to make my slides make sense, but it made sense on a little napkin that I had in my hand that I'd written on just outside. So I got one of the ladies that was there from MWEB, and I got her to actually take a picture of this, and I put that as my opening slide, saying I don't think I can say it better than this.
Yeah.
And that slide actually threw people in a very positive manner.
Yeah.
They were like, "We've never
I love
seen that
making
before."
slides. I actually got a startup idea that I'm working on with somebody for. Anyway, I was talking.
Okay.
Totally aside. I love slides. I love playing with slides. It's fun. Anyway.
I want to do an Arduino event next year. An Arduino South Africa
we're
Maker
talking
Fair.
about this. Yeah, a little bit of a
like a kids code camp, but you don't just code mobile apps.
yeah.
Because
you
to me,
deal with
like
hardware.
Tom O'Reilly says this all the time, like work on stuff that matters.
Yes, yeah.
Like, and I think just teaching kids to write mobile apps, that's not stuff that matters.
Yeah.
It's like it's such a mercenary, capitalistic view. Don't take Arduino and do something with it. You know, one lady in Cape Town right now, I bumped into her, and she's quite a smart lady, and she's actually putting Arduino sensors on the taxis. And the taxi drivers that has pollution sensors or atmospheric content sensors on it that are very open source and easy.
Okay.
And all she's doing is just correlating the data to determine different shifts in the atmospheric density of pollutants in Cape Town as the taxis are moving around. She doesn't know what the data will mean. She doesn't know whether it will be useful or not.
Just doing
but
it
it's
'cause she
gathering
can.
the data. And she thinks it will just be really cool to do that.
Cool.
And I think that's this new world that we're moving in, which is so exciting. I'm so passionate about it.
Love it. Cool. I think that's a great way to end off the show tonight. Go and check out arduino.cc. Go and put some sensors in
Make
things
stuff.
all around you.
Yeah, make stuff.
Start with your house.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for being here, Stafford Masie.
Thank you for having me.
At Stafford Masie on Twitter. Check out all the stuff that Stafford's up to, and there's a lot of it. Andy Hadfield, at Andy Hadfield, Hadfield on Twitter. Real-Time Wine. Thanks for bringing in wine tonight.
Pleasure.
It's really good.
I thought it was quite nice.
Not enough.
Superbly.
Yeah, you see, when there's 4 people here, it doesn't go far.
It's very drinkable.
One hot chocolate goblet is all you get.
That's all you need, really. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and also go check out Mzansi Gold.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
you,
Let me talk to you about that.
We've just processed our first 40 applications.
and good stuff.
Interesting stuff.
Okay.
How many angel investors do you have now?
In the network? It's for those of you listening who don't know.
It's an angel
angel
entrepreneur.
investor network.
Probably 5 to 10. We've got to. This is very much a maker thing. We decided that there's a gap. We have no idea how we're going to monetize anything, but we want to get involved. And we need to find a gap that kind of fits with Angel Hub, because Angel Hub's a very structured. In fact, they're working on the real-time wine deal. They're very structured. They're very formal. Whereas we're trying to play more at the coalface of the sub-1 million rand angel raisers. And there's just some fascinating entrepreneurs out there. There's a lot of crap, as you would expect, but it's just really interesting to see how crap the crap can be, and how people often can't
So,
articulate good ideas.
Let me put it this way: are you looking for more applications, or are you kind of subscribed at the moment? Or
No, we'll look for more applications. I mean, it does put a big workload.
Andy, can I just so number one
let
is
me just finish one sentence.
okay. Sorry.
Where we're trying to get to is February-ish. We want to hold a pitch event.
okay,
So that we can put 5 entrepreneurs that we've found and mentored a little in front of angels and see what happens.
okay.
So
Okay,
go.
so 2 questions. Number one is, how do you select your angels? And I've looked at Mzansi Gold's website just briefly, but can you just I think for the sake of everyone and myself, how do you select your angels? Number one, because I'm interested. I'd like to participate in it. Second thing is the audience that you're going after to get the ideas. Are you approaching developers or are you approaching guys with ideas?
They approach us. So on the entrepreneur side,
But who are you reaching out to?
anyone who's heard of us. The fewer applications we get at the moment, until we fine-tune the business model, the better.
Okay.
Okay, so we're using the first couple, and they're going to get a lot of attention. So one of the nice things is completely unmonetizable, but one of the nice things we did in this last round of 40 was that even the super crap applications, we actually gave them feedback, and I don't think some of those kind of coalface entrepreneurs get feedback about what's wrong with their pitch.
Right.
And that was really cool. So even if that's a little bit of an outreach thing, that's fine.
Okay.
In terms of the angels, there are not many formal, mature angels in this country. There's a lot of people with a lot of money that want to give back, but that formal angel structure doesn't exist. So what we're actually looking for is we're going to try and target the BE guys who've made lots of money in BE deals and now want to give back to the community, but don't have formal angel training. And I think it's going to be done not as much on a legal structure as it is on a select and connect structure. So getting people in the same room and seeing if we can make a spark between a young, passionate guy and an angel that has money.
Okay. We need to move on, but thanks.
It's
Andy.
exciting.
No,
Zanzi Gold, check it
Yeah.
out. We need more of that happening in South Africa.
Yeah.
Exactly, we do.
Well, remember Jess wrote the article for Funding.
Yes, yeah.
We just don't have VC in this country.
Yeah. Did you see the comments?
No, we do
Some
have
of the people
VC.
involved in VC were very offended by
Well,
the
let them
comments.
they're talking crap. There is no VC in South Africa.
There's lots.
Okay.
If you're looking
Let's
for
take the fight
Oh.
offline.
And I've
opinion
just
on
got a
this too,
topic
but
I can fight about.
nonetheless.
Okay.
There's VC, then there's VC.
Brett Haggard, thanks for being here, dude.
Cheers.
At
Thanks a lot,
Bretsky,
man.
BRETTSKI on Twitter.
I just want to say quickly, if anybody's interested in Arduino, this is something that came out of the chat room.
House for Hack, are you also looking at it?
No. netram.co.za /vmchk/Arduino.html. You can buy Arduino components pre-assembled in South Africa and start tinkering from as little as 270 South African rand.
Yeah, and also check out House for Hack. House, the word house, number 4 hack.co.za. It's a blog with guys in South Africa messing around with Arduino and 3D printers. And cool
I
stuff.
have to do this.
I'm
This
meeting
is
a bunch
so
of them
rad.
tomorrow afternoon.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's good stuff happening in the world at the moment. Anyway, thanks, guys. My name's Simon Dingle, at Simon Dingle. This was episode number 187 of the ZA Tech Show. The ZA Tech Show is made possible by Vodacom. Power to you at vodacom.co.za and by Blackberry. Love doing business on your Blackberry smartphone at blackberry.co.za. Nice extended version of the show this week. We'll be back next week with 188. And if you're wondering what our Christmas schedule looks like, we'll probably take a break from the show on the 22nd and 29th. But check out our feed anyway, because we'll put something special in there for you. So, that's it for this week. Goodbye.
Bye. So, where's